now. So first off, we're just going to go around robin, quick intros about who you are, what you're up to. We just started this recording after the intros were already going because we're like, oh man, this was gold and it was a shame we didn't capture it. So now we're coming back to do that, and I'm just going to send it back to Franz to keep the flow going.
Great. Checking in again from Liechtenstein. Also gives me opportunity to refresh. And Chris, I want to align with you about your energy production systems. Right now here in Liechtenstein, we have already 6 out of 11 municipalities wanting to jump into a energy sovereignty DHO. So I think it's a very exciting one. And I was just mentioning, been working with Nick and Rieki already since the beginning, almost 3 years now. And we've been building these tools for the regenerative renaissance. My background is essentially working for organizations such as the World Health Organization in the UN, realized that the system is broken in so many ways and really trying to figure out how to decentralize everything. I specialize more in the alliance building side of things, where kind of going back and retracting where I was and really bringing in these new ways of thinking, new ways of being through this alliances, whether it's governments, bioregions, or organizations. Really exciting as we have a large network of more than 600 organizations wanting to play with us, and really platforms or universities and essentially everything encompassing that you would require to build a new civilization. So really great to be here and see what potential we can unfold together. And now going back, passing it back to Nick.
All right, so second time around. My background is software, Silicon Valley. I'm a software engineer. I've been working with Hypha for the last 2 years, and we've been building the Seeds cryptocurrency, conscious currency, and also the Hypha DAO tools. And yeah, my role there is more like the technical lead for Seeds, and also now really helping out with the first product for the DAO builder in Hypha DAO. And yeah, I mean, the reason I got into all of this is into crypto in the first place is that we need to build this kind of new civilization. And I see that cryptocurrency is, you know, the tool to get there. And then also, as we were building this currency, we were realizing that governance is really the big thing. So creating tools for a new civilization is basically like what I want to do and what we've been doing at Hypha. And this is also why it makes all of this really interesting for me. Yeah, I think that's it for me, and I'll give it to Chris for a second intro.
Right. Yeah, so Chris Barnes, I have a background in renewable power generation ops from solar and wind, got into crypto in 2013, got into EOS in 2017, claimed my Telos, so into Telos, and then more recently got really involved with eosio with the Eden on EOS process, where I was the winner of the first trial Eden election back in April, I think. And that kind of just led me on this kind of full-time path to dedicated towards governance and this Eden process, which is really interesting, fractal governance and political playoffs as another method to do democracy. Yeah, now I work for Helios, which is the VC firm where Brock Pierce is the CEO of, and that's an EOSIO investment vehicle. And I've also been recently elected to the Telos Foundation board. So trying to stay really involved in all things EOSIO and really interested in governance, essentially. So happy to be here.
And you passed it to AJ.
Right, no passing. Thank you, AJ.
Hey everyone, AJ Dinger. I run business development for the Telos Foundation. Joined the organization at the beginning of this year. Been active in crypto really since about 2017. Really kind of focused on kind of all things strategic alliances, partnerships, ESG initiatives, grants, kind of a lot of different hats. My background is a combination of, I would say, finance, clean tech, which has kind of been a continuous thread throughout my entire career, and business development, really kind of thinking through partnerships on the strategic side. So I'll keep it short and pithy. And over to Liam.
Thanks, AJ. Hey guys, my name's Liam. I have a bit of an interesting, unique background. My background's actually in music. audio engineering, production, that side of things. But I'm also a business owner. I really went down the rabbit hole of content marketing somehow, from music to that side of things, and got into crypto and blockchain about a year ago now. We're kind of reaching my anniversary of entering the Telos ecosystem in April. Yeah, I discovered crypto really just January of last year and got excited about what it could do for our economies in the creative arts and that side of things. So that's really what attracted me to the space. And then I got involved with the Telos Foundation in April of last year, helping out on the marketing side of things. I still work really closely with the Telos Foundation through my marketing agency and my Canadian startup, Corduroy Earth. And then we recently launched actually, as of yesterday, we're a block producer on the network with Telos Culture, which has a mission really of capturing the voice of the ecosystem.
You guys.
That's us, surprise, surprise. Capturing the voice of the ecosystem and the culture of it, because I think the technology is part of it. And that's obviously part of our mission as well, but also figuring out how we can support the culture of all these different projects and people in the space and grow the voice of the network in a human way as well. So that's part of the mission there. So a lot of different initiatives and things on the go. But I'm really excited about governance in the space as well. You know, I came into it, I think like a lot of you, looking at the economic side of things and realizing that currencies is just part of it, right? Governance and the issues that sort of are in that part of how we operate as a society are also a big part of solving those issues. And I think that's one of the most exciting things for me about the Telos ecosystem, is how progressive it is in that regard. So yeah, that's me. I also want to, I think, recognize, you know, I breaks my heart a little. I'm excited about this call because I actually found the Telos ecosystem through the Seeds ecosystem initially. But at the same time, there's a Women of Web 3.0 conference going on, as it's International Women's Day today. As we talk about governance, I think it's important to also recognize we're a bunch of men here, but we want to make sure that in sort of rebuilding these systems that we're looking at opportunities to, you know, we're figuring out ways to create opportunities for everybody and more of a diverse, you know, we want to encourage diversity in our leadership as well. So everybody is here, you know, maybe go watch that panel after this. I think it's going to be a great event with a lot of really great perspectives from awesome thought leaders in our space that I think we can all sort of learn from as well. That's me.
And then you passed it to
I
Doug.
guess we get past it, sorry.
Okay.
Douglas, over to you.
Hey guys, sorry to be late. I was double booked on another thing that I wanted to kind of get my thing cleared out. But the good thing is, every one of you knows me, and I know every one of you, and we'll work together for you know, years or months or whatever. So no need. I'm not going to waste anybody's time with a introduction. We are though. On the topic of women, I feel that in leadership, I feel that's important, and I feel like I played a really strong role in getting 3 women elected to the Telos Foundation board. So, and 50% of my organization, Good Block, is women. So, always more to do, but I don't feel like I'm that far out of touch. And we're also Good Block has also started to do a women in highlighting women in blockchain thing. So yeah, I fully support that. Feel pretty good about where we're at right now, though. Thanks everybody. I'll stop talking and start listening. It's nice to be here.
I'm also going to take Doug. Thank you, Liam. Thank you for bringing.
Pass it to Rieki.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that's critical, talking about the feminine male, the female male divide, simultaneously talking about the feminine and masculine balance as well. Feminine being like how we're holding space and what we're doing. And it's something to note, because the masculine energy is like that forward energy that creates new things and enters new spaces, but it's very reckless if the feminine energy doesn't balance it and hold it. So crypto up until now has been very masculine because it's a completely new space. It's been male dominated, just kind of like driving forward and kind of putting energy out there. But where it becomes tangible and real is where that feminine energy actually captures that energy and grounds it and says, this is where it's going to be, you know, real change. And I think that's what's been missing in a lot of the Web3 is that grounding and real change. So this is going to be a little bit ironic because it's a bunch of men talking about that need for the feminine balance. But, we all, as, infinite beings, are also masculine and feminine, and we need to find that balance within ourselves.
Do you guys need to get some, do you want me to with some women?
Girls, but that's important too. Say again?
Do you want me to get some women on the call? I mean,
yes, please.
That's
that'd be great to invite them. Yeah. I mean, this was
all right. Let me. You guys keep talking.
So.
I'll send a couple DMs, and because you're right, it is weird, and this happens a lot. But let's see who we can get on the call. Log in on the call real quick.
Douglas's new tagline: "Crypto Pimp."
No, thank you.
All right, but
that's exactly the opposite of what I'm suggesting.
That's why it was funny,
but kind of funny. Okay.
We also have 42 minutes, so I want to make the most of this. So please send some invites out right now, and then they can dive into the flow. Just let them know I'll be doing a presentation, which I'll move into now. It's a proposal for a way of aligning between our ecosystems, and then we can have some dialogue after that and talk about some next steps.
Absolutely. So I'll do that in the background. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Doug. Any questions, comments, anything before we kick off here?
Yeah, who does your awesome graphics, man? Is that still Joaquin?
No, there's some other designers that actually came in and built this.
God, so jealous. You guys have great stuff, always.
There is actually. Let's see who particularly. Yeah, so this one was Leo Minardi. But this was actually a collaboration between multiple different designers, and I'm the one that just throws together after they make the design. So I made this deck based off of their awesome designs. But anyway, so what are we actually doing here? Sorry, did we have any questions from anyone? Anything else? All right, so what we're actually doing here then is this is a funding proposal from Hypha to offer ecosystem building services to the Telos community. So this is very clearly saying, hey, these are some strategies for how we can move forward. We would like to bring this energy and wisdom to this movement. Is this something that the Telos community wants? And simultaneously, is Hypha and Seeds all up for this too? So that's the general framing of what this is kind of all about. Now to dive into all the fun and really good stuff. So this is the overview of what I'm about to get into is ecosystem coordination. So how do we align that latent energy in the Telos ecosystem? There's a lot of incredible projects and people and potential here, but we're not coordinating effectively as a whole ecosystem. So here's some strategies about how we can improve there. Second is this concept of initial DAO offerings. It's what made Ethereum massive and huge was the ICO, meaning in order to invest into all of these new projects, you needed to acquire Ethereum. So people were buying Ethereum and it took off, and that's what made Ethereum Ethereum. It was fantastic. So what's the next stage of that? Let's not try to copy that because they already did that. That was an innovation that was new. That was the next level of what the ecosystem needed. So we can't look back and say, let's try to do that again. Where's the ecosystem headed now? More coordination capability, DAOs, and more practical growth. So what's the next stage of fundraising actually look like? Well, it looks like fundraising funds, but also the organization who's able to enact and use those funds to do change in the world. So they call these initial DAO offerings. And this is some concept I'll get into a little bit more. 3, liquidity and growth. That's huge for Telos. It's a big need here. So we're going to talk about some different funding routes and some different growth routes that we can do together. And then finally is the ESG side and ecosystem. So this is fundraising. So this is how we can work together between all of our ecosystems to raise funds more effectively as a whole ecosystem, and some routes for us to be able to do that together. So that's the general overview. And I'm going to pause at every step of this thing in case there's questions, because I find them more relevant that way. So any questions on the general overview before we dive in? All right, we're just going to keep running that. So everything here is, version 1.0 of this. It's just here to get the conversation going and to help frame what we're doing here collectively. I'm trying to get your guys' faces out of the way so I can see this. Cool. So how do we actually all relate in the bigger context of the change that we're trying to see in the world? Is we see Telos as the infrastructure layer. All of this is possible because the Telos ecosystem and what's been afforded there. Fantastic. Then on top of that is seeds, which is taking the implementation of these tools and building regenerative economic systems. So this is what we're talking about in creating new civilizations and societies, is we need new economic systems to coordinate these new civilizations that we're building, right? And then Hypha is the organizational systems. So this is how we reform, how we as humans come together to coordinate common steward assets together and do things collectively, i.e. DAOs, what we're experimenting with there. So all of these things together create the foundations for different types of civilizations and for actions, projects, villages, communities, businesses, really any group of people doing something can then take these tools and start, well, what tools? And start using these tools. So what tools? Better money and better organizations on the best infrastructure. So that's kind of how we all relate together. So Hypha is building DAO tools. But we actually went through an effort of saying a DAO is different from a do. H being a human in the center rather than A being autonomous trying to automate everything, versus a DAC being a community, but anyway, we can get into bigger definitions here, but we see this as a limiting factor when calling everything a DAO, but we're saying, actually, no, this is a new design space where we're redesigning all scales of governance. And each scale of governance and what's trying to be accomplished might require a different organization structure. And we need to get, practical about templating these different organization structures and saying this is the difference between a DAO and a do and when to use each one of them, right? And learning that way. So this is what Hypha has been working on. But anyway, we also have this crowd pooling capability, which I'll get into later. But anyway, these are some Hypha tools for organizations to then actually use in any one of their projects that they're working on. We're focused on regeneration and systems change just because that's so necessary for humanity right now. So we're focused on projects that are looking at regeneration and how to design new types of villages and how to go about replanting forests more effectively, etc. So then seeds actually gives a wallet, which I'll get into, and new types of economic systems, meaning you can fork the entire seeds model, and communities are talking about doing this, and actually use that to better coordinate as a local community. So we built tools like the Passport, which we're calling a decentralized society. So there's places to communicate, there's forums, and then you can take that forum and you can earn reputation, and we can earn governance tokens for participating in the dialogue. And then right there from the dialogue, you can take that conversation and move it to the governance forum to be able to vote on it and pass proposals to move your society forward, etc. So these are all different coordination tools. But then on Telos, you guys have Decide Voter. And I actually want to talk about where I think Decide Voter fits in with what we've been building in Seeds and Hypha, because I think, maybe not even on accident, they're completely complementary. Where Decide Voter is more effective at coordinating whole ecosystems of projects, which I'll get into a little bit. And the tools that Hypha has been building are more effective at coordinating organizations and smaller groups with more tangible purposes. But then, oh man, there's so much awesome stuff happening in Telos. So, obviously the blockchain, so decentralized data, D-Store is more decentralized data for bigger things, videos and everything else. T-swaps for exchanges, Telos Fdn, which means everything that's built on Ethereum can also be brought over and ported to Telos. Wallets, DeFi, and all that fun stuff, which a lot of you are already familiar with, but because this is a presentation talking about everything that's happening here and helping us frame where we all fit in, I'm actually going to talk about your guys' tools that you're already familiar with, but just show them off anyway. So this is Decide Voter. For those who don't know, this is a really advanced governance platform for ecosystems to come together and do governance. So let me look at it. You come here and create a poll, and there's a whole bunch of different categories for what type of governance poll you want to be making. There's different ways to actually go about voting. And then of course you can upload the information and then go about doing a proposal. Let me get your faces out of the way. So actually I'm proposing that we can use Telos Decide to then start coordinating the Telos ecosystem and Seeds. So Seeds is actually looking for tools to do exactly what Telos Decide is actually already built. And I only learned about this a couple of days ago because there's so much happening in these ecosystems. So I learned about this while researching this deck and being like, wow, Telos Decide is way more advanced. I was playing with the mobile version. I didn't even realize how advanced the desktop version was. So it's really cool what's happened here. Because this is what we have been doing on the seed side, is we've been saying, how do we do better meta coordination? A bunch of different organizations actually formed in seeds. To give you guys a little background, we thought Hypha would be the DAO. You know, if work needed to get done in person, you know, come to Hypha, and that's where it happens for all of seeds. But very quickly, we learned that nope, actually every organization has a very clear boundary, and that's just culture. There's the cognitive overload. There's so many different reasons why it actually makes sense to have a container. And then we started evolving and looking more at the organism. You know, how do our bodies coordinate? We don't have one organ, we have a dozen plus organs, right? We have a whole bunch of different systems in our body that helps us do things and, you know, be a human. So this is what we're seeing in our ecosystems, is we need to kind of mirror that, where every DAO is a different organ within the whole ecosystem. And we start mapping the whole ecosystem. So just like our bodies, when it's like, hey, it's time to run, we flow more energy and resources down to our legs. When it's time to digest, we bring that energy back up to our gut. When it's time to think, to our brain, etc. But within our ecosystem right now, we're trying to run 100% full speed in every direction all the time. And we're facing a lot of burnout. We're facing a lot of overwhelm. And it's as if our bodies are trying to do everything at the same time. They can't do that. So if we're trying to coordinate as ecosystems, we now learn from biology. How does biology coordinate? How do ecosystems actually coordinate? And let's map that into our tools. So Telos Decide can actually be how we run this process. So this is the seeds commons in the center. I'm mirroring seeds, and I'm proposing that we can actually take this same structure and bring it to Telos. I'm just going to first share what seeds is thinking about. It has this idea of a seeds commons. So each season, all the organizations within seeds comes together, and first, all the organizations from the last season come and present everything they did and what they learned. So this is a one place that all the members of seeds who want to keep up with all the updates can come and just watch this one session, be like, oh, okay, this is everything that happened across the ecosystem the last 3 months. Telos can do this same thing. So all the organizations that participated last season come and present. Then all the organizations that want to present next season or want to participate for the next season come and present. So this is where all the new organizations are like, yep, we love Telos, we want to get funding. Yep, we love seeds, we want to get funding, or whatever it is. We want to move this ecosystem forward. This is our proposal to the community. And they come and share what they'd like to do in the next 3 months. Then the third day is dialogue. So this is where we're doing, you know, discussion and dialogue and actually discourse. I should be sharing what this looks like actually. Yeah, so the third day is where you actually do citizen assemblies and all the communities come together. We do dialogue, we talk, breakout sessions, we learn, we actually practice sense making and decision making in action, right? And then day 4 is where you go to vote on what organizations you want to move us forward. So we can actually use Telos Decide for this. And the same thing we do to vote for block producers, people can then vote for what organizations they want to be part of the Telos Commons, right? And Seeds Commons can use this exact same thing. The tools are already here. This is fantastic. And I'm super excited about that. But anyway, so then what happens is once all the organizations are picked, then the community is like, yep, we're going to have these top 21 organizations. They're going to make up the commons. Cool. So then that's how every person who's part of Telos, the governance process, gets to decide how is our ecosystem moving forward. Because the organizations that make up the commons, they all then select 1 or 2 reps to make up this coordinating body. So this is a decentralized way of actually forming the role the Telos Foundation is playing right now. I actually made a slide for this. So then that makes up the coordinating center in the middle. So then 1 to 2 people from each one of all these DAOs and dues that were voted in by the Telos holders then make up the coordinating body in the middle. So this might be a complementary to the Telos Foundation. It might be some Telos Foundation DAO as a, you know, what comes next or something. But then this is a fully decentralized way for the community to kind of figure that out. But then each DAO, they know who's going to best represent the ecosystem and their needs. So then you're using their intelligence to actually select who makes up the board. And then the board only has one role in this model, but of course we can expand this. We're experimenting, we're learning here. But the idea is we wanted to make meta coordination simple. We didn't want to have an entire new organization that now people are expected to be a part of because we don't have the time for that. So the board really has one goal, and they're to set a budget. So Telos Foundation has this question right now. I'm kind of all over the place. Just bear with me. So Telos Foundation has this question, you know, how do we spend our grants? We got these grants, we have to give them out there. How do we distribute this money? As another question, how do we distribute inflation? You know, once the ecosystem starts funding itself, how do we go about distributing those resources to grow our ecosystem in the most effective way? So this is the role of that coordinating body in the center, is they decide, hey, we have a budget, we have inflation to spend or whatever it is. Our role is to set a budget for the next season and distribute it out amongst our own organizations. And they know how much they need, they know how much or where the ecosystem needs to go, et cetera. So that's the main role of the coordinating body. So bouncing back over to here, you know, so that's what happens is then the council then comes together. You know, they have their own assembly where then all of the members of the different organizations who are selected come and discuss and try to figure out a budget. And then on day 7, they establish a budget and the new season starts. And then this pattern kind of just oscillates, and this is how we evolve and go forward. So this is one coordination protocol that we're actually proposing to the Telos ecosystem of how we can start organizing more effectively as an ecosystem and how we can use the tools that we've already built to be able to start doing this right now. So this is one idea, is Hypha can come, join, and actually be part of this process. And we've been working on this with Seeds. We would love to bring this wisdom and energy to, you know, Telos to start coordinating. So then this is where it gets really cool, and where Hypha kind of steps into this picture is then every one of these member organizations, they're also their own DAO. So that means this is where the Hypha DAO tools come in. So then each one of these member organizations, they can all have the different roles that they need in their organization. So maybe you're, Liam, you guys are actually doing this. You're doing the culture, you're doing the storytelling. So your organ is the culture and storytelling part of Telos. So each season you can come around and be like, hey, this is everything we've done to tell the cultural story the last season. This is what we'd like to do next season. Then you can actually go and set up all the roles you need, all the circles you have in your own organization. So then anyone in Telos can show up and be like, yep, we want to help tell the story too. And they can come here and see what roles are available for them to be able to fill and what circles they can be a part of. So you can actually come here and see all the different archetypes. Be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a smart contract engineer and I can look at who's already in that role and all that fun stuff. And what this does is then it allows all of us to fully decentralize our organizations and be transparent about the funding. So that when all the resources are going out to these organs, you can actually go and look at them and be like, okay, how are they spending funds? You know, what proposals are getting passed? Who's getting paid for what? And you can come here and actually see a proposal, see how much they're getting paid of all the various tokens, see what they're said they're going to accomplish, see their information, see the comments and the discussion about it. If you're part of this organization, you can then vote on it. And then when you come over here to proposals, this is just to give you a brief overview of all the potential of what you can do in these organizations. This is how the organizations themselves evolve. Is whoever's holding voice in that organization actually evolves the organization. What new circles do we have in our org? What is our strategy? How are we evolving ourselves? So it's kind of your own kind of roundtable process. What policies, what agreements do we have as an organization? And then what roles do we want in our organization? So the role is a different concept from a human. And this is how DAOs really need to keep going forward, because to be truly decentralized, you can't be dependent on a human who can get hit by a bus or something. You need to be dependent on roles in your organization that any human can fill and that can be transitory. So this is how you evolve your organization. By we have these 7 roles. You know, we're telling the cultural story, so we need artists, we need designers, we need storytellers, etc. So the different roles they have, and then badges. And badges give you different rights and authority. Let me actually explore some badges. Go back home, come down to our badges. So, for example, you might have a enroller badge. This is the person who has the right to add new members into your organization. You might have a treasurer badge, and this is how we govern off-chain assets. So we have a treasurer badge for who holds the Bitcoin multi-sig, right? We have a treasurer badge for who holds the whatever multi-sig. We have it for Ethereum as well. So this way you can have a treasurer badge for governing other assets, or who's on the bank account in our community, whatever. You might have a facilitator badge, which shows that you have that capability to be a facilitator, etc. And you can actually look at a badge. What a badge does is it can give you a bunch of different bonuses as well. So you might say, if you're holding the facilitator badge, we're going to give you more voice in our organization, because facilitating helps you understand more about governance, and we have all of our justifications, etc. So anyway, that's just a real brief overview. There's a deeper overview that you can look at, but the idea is that then the do is for organizing our organizations. Why, Telos Decide so far is really great for organizing the whole ecosystem. So for example, Telos Decide was set up for how you do elections, for who's holding things, how you amend ballots. So when you're going about upgrading a constitution for an ecosystem, i.e. in seeds, Telos Decide would be the tool to use for that, because it's for the wider scale, the whole ecosystem. But when you're within an organization or an organ, you could then be using the do. Anyway, this is just how I'm currently seeing it come together. You can look at this deck later, but the do does a whole bunch of different things, human-centric design. We've set it up so it works with Wyoming DAO LLCs for legal compliance, which is really important. Treasury management, fee-free. We're on Telos. We're the only DAO doing fee-free on-chain governance. This is also a huge opportunity for Telos. Both of the tools between Telos Decide and the do, they're the most advanced governance tools out there. And my entire role is actually trying to find out all the governance tools in Web3, and I'm just constantly blown away by our capability. This is being underutilized and undertold, which is the next part of my overview here. But anyway, one more other thing that I wanted to show off on the Hypha side is the wallet that some of you might not be aware of, but you can send and receive Telos ecosystem tokens. I actually don't have any Telos here in my screenshot because I'm staking it all like every good holder should. But anyway, you can send and receive Telos and any other assets we want to add to that. You can delegate your voice. So we've added a voice delegation feature right into the wallet itself. So this is, again, how you scale ecosystem governance by being able to delegate your voice. Great. We've already built it in so you can talk. You can do governance and voting and everything right inside the wallet as well. So Seeds has been doing its governance here for a while now, and it's beautiful and the design's great. The other huge thing with the wallet is social key recovery. So we've already set up the process for you to go through assigning different people to recover your account should you lose your keys. So we get rid of the process of being able to lose keys. There's an entire company on Ethereum that raised like 30 million based off of this alone, right? So this is stuff that's already up and going in Telos that we can bring to the ecosystem. So again, we're not being redundant. There's no reason for us to, build these within other tools if we already have them. Okay, and let me just breeze through a little bit more of this. More organizing patterns. So with the seasons, there's some other stuff that we built here for helping expand coordination capacity within organizations. We'd love to bring some of this learning to Telos. Telos ecosystem, like I said, it's huge. So what's setting us apart, Telos as us, apart from other layer ones, will be our ability to coordinate. We're not outfunded. We're just not. We shouldn't compete on that side. And what the other ecosystems are doing is they're taking a whole bunch of money and they're just blasting it out there and they're just trying to just build, right? I think we're actually in a more valuable position because we're not hobbled by that fact. So what we actually have to do is learn how to coordinate. Is she being loud for you guys? Anyway, that's life. I'll talk a little bit louder.
She's just being a baby, so.
And that's, new life in this house. It's great. My wife's actually pregnant and we'll be having our first baby next month too. So it's fun. But anyway.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Let me wrap this up because I want some more dialogue time and there's so much more that I want to say. So I'll be super quick. So what's going to set us apart from other layer ones isn't going to be excessive funding. It's going to be our ability to coordinate as a whole ecosystem most effectively, which honestly, I think is the entire point of all of this. So we're in the privileged position because we're going to have to do it the right way rather than try to, fail the wrong way. So this is what I'm saying. Telos ecosystem. This is what we would love to help do is actually set up the different organs and then pull all the different organizations that are part of that organ into the right place to start coordinating more effectively. So actually say these are the main needs that our ecosystem has, and then what organizations are part of the meeting that need, right? And then start coordinating first this way and then using seasons. And then again, the Hypha do is designed for this. And right up here is what you actually, let me go back to the slideshow so it's more beautiful. You can see up here on the left, one of the biggest changes coming next time is the ability to hop through to other DAOs just as easily as you do on Discord and servers, right? So this is, again, how we're going to be more effectively coordinated as an ecosystem, as every one of us is going to have roles in a whole lot of different organizations within the Telos ecosystem. And this is how we then jump to all of those different organizations, right? So I already kind of touched on this, but then we always have a question as ecosystem, you know, how do we spend the grant money that we have, or how do we spend inflation if that comes? You know, how do we grow as an ecosystem? So this is us building the framework and the processes and protocols for doing that, so that the resources come into this coordination mechanism I was talking about, and then flow out to all the different organs of our ecosystem, and then down to those organizations, and then down to all the roles, right? So it's a process of kind of fueling the ecosystem the same way our bodies run. So you guys get that now? The second thing that I'd love to actually build with Telos, and this is part of why we need to actually raise some funds, is to be doing initial DAO offerings and crowd pooling on Telos. So this will be that new innovation I had briefly talked about, but something that I think would be really powerful for the Telos ecosystem is for us to be the platform for initial DAO offerings to happen. So that you as a project come together, you say, yep, this is our idea. And you're not only raising funds then, oops, let me go back. You're also raising the roles that you need. That's critical. So you can actually set up your organization, all the circles that you have within your organization, all the roles that you need to have filled. And then your soft cap in your raise could be, we need to have these 30 roles filled and voted into place before we consider our raise effective. And we take the $10 million we just raised from you guys. So this is going to create a new standard in fundraising, I believe, because supporters will expect you to do it transparently. They would love for you to see how you're spending the funds so that you're actually building a product rather than, you know, buying a Lamborghini or Ferrari or whatever, which is actually a huge problem in Kickstarter, is that people are squandering the money that they raise and they don't ever deliver a product. So there's going to be a new standard that why aren't you doing it transparently? People will expect to do it. And then secondly, like, how do you expect to spend this money? There's 3 of you doing this crowdfunding and you're raising 100 million. Like, nope, you need an organization of 30. So that'll be a new standard to say, no, the organization needs to be filled out before we release the funding. And then I think we can actually launch all of this on Telos and then give an ability for people to buy tokens using Telos Hypha seeds right on the Hypha dashboard and right for organizations. So as you come to an organization, you plan to contribute to them. Another way to contribute, of course, is by contributing some of these tokens to their treasury. Any questions on this? Because this was a huge piece that I think would be really valuable for us. Or do you want me to just keep going and then we'll talk after?
I think you're on a roll. Let's keep going. I think this is very exciting, but
I'll just keep going then. And again, I kind of briefly touched on this. This is what had Ethereum take off, is all of the ICOs launching on Ethereum. Then they all took that Ethereum and then locked it into their treasuries that aligned all the organization's interests. So they all had a goal to, you know, increase the value of Ethereum, et cetera. We all know that story and how it works. I think Telos can replicate this by launching the DAOs and saying we are the most advanced governance place for focused on systemic change. You know, this is the best house because I have the new life and I'm also sitting next to an Air Force base, which reminds me every day of why we need to change systems, because I'm watching us just air pollution and noise pollution, spending millions of dollars to do it. Anyway, so this is us then, you know, mirroring what Ethereum did so successfully on Telos to start launching new DAOs, DOs, DACs, and the new paradigm of building new civilizations on this new technology, right? That'll be really exciting. And then when we do that, we can then start forming indexes. So the same way we have those different organs making up organizations, now those organs become indexes. So that institutions or investors or anyone who's like, yep, we really care about DAO and decentralized governance or DeFi and regenerative economies or social gaming, whatever, there's an index token of all the different organizations on Telos that are serving those needs. Now, I've only showed the 3 tokens just for ease, and I didn't care to actually go through Telos and grab all the logos because I'm lazy. So that's the only reason why you see only a few tokens, but the idea is the index would comprise of all the different DAOs and organizations that have launched on Telos that are focused on that, you know, particular idea. So then again, we then crowdfund as a whole ecosystem. Instead of each one of our individual projects wasting all our time, let's focus that. How effective would we be as an ecosystem if we're directing funding towards one location to fund the whole ecosystem rather than each one of our organizations? So then we come to an institutional investor, there's billions of dollars out there, more than that, focused on systems change. There's a lot of money that knows that capitalism's failing, that democracy sucks, that, you know, our operating system for humanity is centuries old. People know that, but they don't want to invest into all these crazy startup ideas that are trying to do systems change. They want to invest into an ecosystem of projects that are supporting each other so they have a lower risk. So that's where, you know, indexes come in, for them to come in and be like, yep, we're going to buy the DAO index token because we know decentralized governance is it. So that, you know, the money comes into the indexes, and of course they get a basket of tokens when they invest in them. So Seeds has been doing this. I mean, guys, we'll share with you guys some of the stuff we've been doing on Seeds currency designs the last couple of years. But basically, it's kind of what Terra and Luna did so well, but then adding a couple more layers that really help this be regenerative. But long story short, this is a way for communities to be able to make their own types of currencies that best meet their needs. And again, this is all launching on Telos. So this is only brought up to just briefly touch on the idea that we're talking about new coordination and governance tools. New currencies is a big part of that because it helps us scale our coordination. And this is a whole other aspect that we're opening up to projects. So when they show up here, they're like, yep, we have a new way of setting up our organization. Instead of a company, we can do a DAO. Cool. Instead of using dollars, euros, yen, or whatever to coordinate, we're going to create our own local currencies that are backed by regeneration and prosperity pools and all this other stuff, which we can get into, but is all possible because of all the DAO and DeFi tooling that is already existing on Telos. So anyway, just an idea of creating new currencies. Another big idea that we can work on together is Hypha's already built this concept of a document graph. It's kind of a middle layer. Same thing that happened in the internet when they were having kind of the infrastructure wars. We built that middle layer for the internet so that things could interoperate. What this does is it actually allows us to kind of weave in value from other layer ones, sorry, back and forth, to scale them so that we can actually mirror what's happening on Ethereum with their DAOs. And we can say, hey, great, are you tired of on-chain fees? Right now, I keep seeing it. It's like, you know, in order to redelegate your vote on a bunch of different DAOs on Ethereum, it costs a whole bunch of money. So it's like people aren't redelegating, they're not even participating because who wants to pay to participate in governance? But what we can do is then we can make it so we're interoperable with these other layer ones. And then every DAO gets a choice. Which layer one do I want to run on? Do I just want to run my organization on top of Telos where it's free and instant? Or do I want to run it on Ethereum where it's a little bit slower and takes a lot of money? You know, so then once people have that choice, I think the natural reaction is, of course, they'd want to come to where it's free and instant. And Telos is having that thing standing apart against every other layer one right now, is all of them are coming with fees. Some of them are just lower than others. So I think that will be a really huge growth potential, is use our technology we've already built, and this is probably going to require a separate call. The long story short, it'll just make it really easy for people to port their DAOs from wherever they're currently running them over to Telos. And that's something we can work on. Just look at this slide after, but this is the 3 different paths that we can work on together and some different milestones. First one's better coordination, like I was talking about, the ecosystem coordination models. We built them. Now what I'd love to do is actually implement them on Telos. Go through the process of testing them, iterating, building on them. And then something else we've been working on is all the coordination technology for communities. So the projects, the people on the ground doing systems change, making this real and tangible, helping us tell stories that matter. You know, when we talk about mass adoption for crypto, the reason we don't have it is because most people don't care about speculation and day trading, which is its only use, well, up until now. But when we look at this and say, actually, no, this is a way for you to coordinate more effectively, meet your needs more effectively, and redesign civilization, then all of a sudden it meets everyone's needs. And those are the stories we want to start telling and helping empowering groups on the ground to do change. So anyway, this is that route. The other one is better orgs. So that's what I was kind of talking with you, is that DAO builder. So you can launch your DAOs on Telos, free and instant, and we can get into how awesome that will be. And then the next step is the crowd pooling. So you're doing your launch within this ecosystem as well, and helping give a use case for Telos Hypha and Seeds, those 3 currencies, because they'll be the base currencies that are accepted to invest into these organizations. And then going multi-ecosystem, like I was just talking about, so that groups, you know, can choose whatever layer one they want to launch on, and they're very likely will choose Telos. Better money, you know, cryptocurrency wallet. We've already built one. I just went over some of the parts of that. It's a great wallet. Please play with it if you haven't yet. Something else we've been working on is decentralized peer-to-peer swaps. So we've done all the smart contracts. We've been working on the UI for people to be able to do, PayPal or whatever, and have escrow for them to buy and sell crypto directly from each other, peer-to-peer. You guys kind of get that. The other thing that we've been working on then with that is this new financial startup that has the banking partnerships already, that's basically doing a blockchain for payments, but integrated with banks. And what this would afford is that we can do atomic and automated fiat to crypto peer-to-peer swaps, so that people can have their fiat account and their crypto account go right into the escrow and swap back and forth. And then we can be the only ecosystem so far that I've even heard talking about this that can have really low fee peer-to-peer onboarding and offboarding in and out of crypto, and doing it in a fully decentralized way. I think that would be game changing. And then Telos and our ecosystem would actually be one of the best places and the lowest fee ways of onboarding into crypto and coming into the ecosystem and offboarding, if that's what we want. Cool. So that's kind of potential future. All right, 2 different funding routes, and then I'll close here. One is I'd love to bring this idea as a way of using the worker proposals and some more Telos, and possibly even create inflation to fund this, is institutions and large investors. There's not enough liquidity on Telos to kind of entice them to come in and to make a lot of the tools that we want to happen. Like the index funds and all that require deep liquidity. So how do we get that? Let's start using inflation or some of the funding to actually do locked liquidity into some of these pools. So for example, Telos as the worker proposal system might provide $100,000 worth of Telos. And then the agreement with the organization getting the liquidity is they provide that same value of their own token. And then this goes into a locked liquidity pool where all the APR is then paid out to Telos stakers or whoever, funded the Telos, right? So the benefits for the organization, let's use Hypha for this example, is building deeper liquidity pools for Hypha. We need to do that. And we only have $100,000 in Telos, and that's not as deep as we want to go. We want to go deeper. So we'll say, okay, look, we'll provide $100,000 of our tokens. If you provide $100,000 of Telos, we'll lock that into a pool. We'll bring the APR and pay that back to stakers, which will be awesome to kind of start mirroring this for a lot of other DAOs, so that people who are staking Telos start earning the APR and trading fees of all of this locked liquidity that the Telos ecosystem provided, right? And then of course, with everything, we design, test, iterate, and grow this. And the keys I'm suggesting are actually held by Telos Foundation. So what it would look like is we would send Hypha to Telos Foundation. They would take the Telos and the Hypha and lock it up into a liquidity pool until we can figure out how to fully decentralize it and start this model, so we can get deeper liquidity on Telos swaps and all the other, there's Zap or Fi or Zappy. I think it was Zappy, and all the other ones that are going to start launching on the EVM side of Telos. We need to get deeper liquidity. I think this model is one way of helping us get there. Finally, what I'm proposing is actually for the grants or inflation or worker proposal or investment from Telos Foundation, whatever form it comes in, is just streamed to Hypha on a seasonal basis. So that we present and say, hey, for the next season, next 3 months, we would like to work on these things for the ecosystem, and we need this much funding every month to make it happen. And what we need right now is we need $70,000 to $100,000 each month to cover our complete runway. And if we had that, then we can focus on Telos and this plan that I put forward right here. If we don't have that, then we're going to be talking to other ecosystems and kind of presenting something similar to this in order to get our funding, because we're looking at our own survival right now because our runway is running low and we haven't focused on fundraising because we've been way too much, focused on building and doing and making practical things and not, out there shilling a token and trying to fundraise. So, that's our weakness, and that's why we're approaching you guys for funding. But what it could look like is actually, and I would propose this, that Telos Foundation starts investing into other DAOs, and we create the model for that. So Telos says, great, we have 12 million to give out. We'll give you 1 million for Hypha for building applications. Then we give you 1 million in the Hypha token. And then Telos Foundation itself starts holding a basket of all these DAOs it's invested into and starts looking like its own index. So then investing into Telos Foundation is investing into a bunch of different projects in Telos. Or if Telos Foundation is just doing this for Telos, this is another benefit for stakers. Is then the Telos token itself starts being backed by all of the different organizations it's investing into, which is another reason to buy Telos, which I think we need to keep building more utility into the Telos token itself. Cool. That was a whole lot. That's a lot of ideas. You know, I've been in this ecosystem for a long time, so obviously this is a really mature concept. It's not just something, you know, kind of stitched together, but it's a lot that I presented. So I'll stop there and let's open this up for discussion.
Can you speak to like any organizations or sort of your runway in terms of bringing in new users? So one of the big advantages of this would be just new users into the ecosystem. So do you have any insight into what that looks like?
I have a lot of insight into that, but so does Franz, and I've talked a lot. So maybe I can let Franz answer that real quick.
Yeah, to give you a little bit of light on that, you know, what we've been amassing as we build this is this on-ramps for organizations and people. And what we've also been doing is this already participatory processes for communities across the world. And I think that's one of our unique positionings in the seeds ecosystem, is that we are essentially attracting users for the 99% of the world. So really, you know, talking about indigenous communities who are for the first time using blockchain, especially through the wallets that we have been doing that really make it accessible. So that's also one great piece that we're doing. You know, also the ecosystem of organizations are very interested to sort of integrate in this last mile technologies, which Telos already has. So I also see a lot of exponential impact by integrating these communities and these tokens. So that really all of that
and along with that, we've had over 200 organizations apply to launch a DAO. And we haven't done very much sharing. We had one video that got like 1,500 views. But because of that, 200 organizations have said, yep, we want to launch a DAO using these tools. So very little marketing. And I think that'll be a huge growth for Telos, is saying, if you're wanting to launch a new organization, do it free and instant. Here's the tools to do it. Great, step into it. So I think that'll be a huge growth path as well. Sorry, Franz.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's the essence. You know, we have this ecosystem of organizations that are wanting to play with us in this context, and they are really attracted with this concept of building a new civilization. So that's really our on-ramp to this ecosystem, that we're able to sort of lower the threshold to integration and providing all of these tools that are fully adaptable for communities to coordinate, create their own impact tokens, and create value together. So that's our essence. So numbers there, 600 plus organizations, several hundred DHOs on the line, and already groups of organizations that are already sort of mapping their ecosystems around building this in more than 100 countries that are also all lining up to piece this all together.
Hey guys, really fantastic presentation. I wish we had more time right now to discuss some of these things. I think AJ had to drop already. Leah's here, and but we're gonna have less discussion time. I also have another meeting that starts right now, as I'm sure we all do. So my one response to this though is, I'm also working with the ENF group that's on EOS, that's trying to combine, that's trying to figure out an organizational structure to combine, to let all the chains work together. And I think that you guys should make this presentation to them, not necessarily the funding component, but they're considering different paths, including a number of things. And I think that you guys, they should see what you're doing. So let's talk offline about how to get you in front of them for a presentation. I'd say, as you know, I'm not on the Telos Foundation board or involved in any way there. So I'm not going to be able to directly speak to that. But my hope is that you've got AJ, who is your conduit to that group, and I'd say keep pushing and try to keep having this move forward, because and if I have one piece of advice, it's have a little more, move your benefits and upfront in the in the proposal when you talk to them. I mean, I think you're going to have to talk to some more guys, give this a couple more times, hopefully. And I would Rieki, let's just you and I talk offline about any feedback I have about that. Thanks very much, guys, for having me be part of this call, and it's really exciting to see what you've been building.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. Maybe what I could propose is just next steps is
There's a hand up from Leah.
Yeah, yes, for Leah to go. And then we'll have a follow-up conversation here, and we can just share this video, and then we can run to our next meetings. So, Leah.
Hi. Yeah, actually, Douglas. I think I don't need to be on the next meeting, so I'm the decide meeting because yeah, you can check the chats. But yeah, I just want to say it was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Douglas, for inviting me. I do think it would be nice to get more ladies into this discussion with the Seeds community, which is something why Douglas invited me, and just get some additional perspective there. I have a number of things that groups I've been working with that I think would benefit for using this in some way. I do think that the TF, Chris, I know you're here, so just mostly speaking to you, the TF has been very slow to roll out marketing since the new board has been gone. We had we had that Telos Female Tuesday today, and only 13 people showed up to the Telos Tuesday, and so I do think that Chris is talking on a call. Okay, the TF would be benefit from putting some R&D money into proposals like this to even just test it or try it out. As a community member, I think it's better than doing nothing. And I'm also working on a personal project in Puerto Rico that has ESG initiative goals, as far as, crypto's taken over Puerto Rico and hasn't given much back to the island. And we want to try to fix that. And a mechanism like this is definitely something we would love to work with you guys in helping you guys test it and use it in a DAO-like structure in Puerto Rico if you're interested. So those are just my top level thoughts. I think this is great. I really would love to become more involved in referring projects to your tool set. And yeah, we should definitely have follow-up conversations. Thanks.
Awesome. I'm feeling kind of stressed because I have 13 people in the waiting room and they're 4 minutes late for a call, and it's a big one for me.
Okay.
So I love you all. Can we follow up on the next call? And sorry for taking so long today.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that. I have to go too. I just wanted to say based on what Leah said, you guys can also get more people signed up. So so you're coming to these meetings and you're saying, hey, this is like, show us the LOIs, show us the groups like Katie or Leah is talking about, show them these things. I think you're gonna, it is a big ask, and that's what that's why I don't think anything's happened concrete yet. But so you're gonna have to come in with a big presentation. Anyway, thanks so much. Talk to you guys later on.
Thanks.
See you.
Cheers, everyone.